The woke can't leave anything alone, including Flash Gordon, as you can see from this new kids graphic novel, where you've got this woman on the cover who's supposed to be Flash Gordon with a brown dude that she's rescuing. I mean, it's like, what are they doing? This is now to the point where it's just absurd. It's like, what is there any property at this point that's left untouched by these weirdos in the comic book industry? And naturally, Marguerite Bennett is attached to it. She's got a long history of just being one of those feminists that gets propped up over and over and over again, despite not really having any good writing chops. That's what's going on right here. So Neon brought this to my attention that this came out the other day. Very interesting, because if you follow the money and the paper trail of where all this all comes from, this is one company that runs the Flash Gordon imprint right now, and they're actually doing a good job on a different front, which I do want to give them credit for. But what is this? What is they thinking? I mean, my gosh. We'll get into this in just a moment. Please smash that like and subscribe button. Join us here as we talk about all things in comics, my friend. And I am a comic creator myself. I am making graphic novels, pushing back against the woke mind virus out there. This is my newsletter. You can sign up for free. You can get a free volume of my Flying Sparks, which is an awesome superhero graphic novel. It's part 1. There's actually 5+ volumes in it that you can enjoy if you do like this, and I think you will. And you also get a science fiction novel and a fantasy novel just for signing up for my newsletter. It's in the description below. Thank you guys so much for being here and supporting us. We just finished up our Emerald Array campaign with more than $23,000 and, of course, close to 500 backers. Really appreciate you guys for supporting great independent products. We're going to have a lot more. The best is yet to come this year. And I love pulp action adventure sci-fi stuff. If you haven't read my Cosmic Warrior, if you're a Flash Gordon fan, that's definitely a good place to start. You'll love it. We'll be doing more in that as well later on because I want to develop that character more. But let's get into what's going on with Flash Gordon right here. I saw this on Neon's feed. He's from Clownfish TV saying, when did they make Flash Gordon a teenage girl? Well, this comes from Simon & Schuster, who distributes this. This is from a company called Papercutz, and Papercutz has always done sort of kids' books versions of things. They actually had Zorro for a while, and they had Don McGregor, who wrote the old Zorro stuff back in the day, writing it. It was a different take on it because it was like, a little more geared towards kids and things like that, but I really enjoyed it, and I thought they did a pretty good job with the Zorro stuff. Now, flash forward, a couple of years, now they've got this like Flash Gordon, the girl from Infinity, Marguerite Bennett, who I'll get into in just a moment. And this is pretty weird as a thing. It's coming out this year, May 2025, 128 pages for 10 to 14-year-olds, but what 10 to 14-year-old is going to want this? Well, no boys are going to want it, and no girls are going to want it because they've got their other YA fantasy stuff. So this is an absurd thing. Like, the art style's wrong. It doesn't look like Flash Gordon. Nothing about this even says Flash Gordon. It doesn't even look like science fiction based on what's going on. It looks like fantasy, even though they've got some flying saucers and the like on the cover. You could see like a sword and nothing really science fiction-y showing up here. Very, very bizarre design, and it just goes to show that when these woke people get their hands on a property, they always do this kind of thing. They always do the gender swap, race swap, yay, and then ruin something. Now, the Flash Gordon, if you don't know, came out in the 1930s. It was a comic strip. Great stuff. Alex Raymond out there. I have the oversized hardcovers of all the Sunday strips, which are so beautiful. Some of the best comics ever made. If you can find those, I think they're extremely, extremely hard to find at this point, but there are other reprint editions of it that are well worth the read. If you love science fiction, this is some of the best stuff you should ever go to, and it should be done honor to. And they are, which is interesting. Papercutz is owned by Mad Cave Studios, which has been acquiring more and more lately. It's run by a guy named Mark London, and they have a bunch of stuff out there. They did, I believe, Mad Cave Studios is doing a lot of different books. Here's all their series. You see Flash Gordon right there. They've got a ton of stuff. They've got a Crusader series, which is kind of interesting. I actually read this. It was kind of fun. Good stuff that I would typically like. Dick Tracy, a lot of old pulpy type of stuff that you would be like, okay, this is pretty neat as a publisher out there. Now, like I said, Papercutz is a subsidiary of them, and of course, they just got Marguerite Bennett in there, who's just one of those people that they always tokenize to put in on women's fiction, is what it ends up going with. Now, let's before we get into this. This is Flash Gordon from the actual Mad Cave Studios, and it's written by Jeremy Adams. Now, Jeremy Adams, if you don't know who he is a guy from DC Comics. as well, and he's been doing a great job on Aquaman, Green Lantern, great stuff. Will Conrad's the artist. It all looks beautiful, really does. And so they did a series of Flash Gordon, which they actually put up the issue number 0, free comic book day for free, so you can look at it right here. That feels and looks like Flash Gordon. You see right away. By the way, look at the difference. You can tell woke. Not woke. Okay, so you got your strong male lead. He's got a freaking ray gun. Okay, cool. Okay, he's got a sword and all that too. He's got kind of a planet behind him. Feels like science fiction right away. This is better art immediately. And you can see action, adventure, just awesome stuff. And they're just doing the pulp justice right here as they're going against Emperor Ming, who's a big Flash Gordon enemy from back in the day. And, this is kind of where the scroll designs were based on from Marvel Comics. This is actually way prior to that. So really good stuff. He's gone, and, of course, he's supposed to be captured, and he's not captured because he's Flash Gordon, of course. And that's what he has to deal with here. Beautiful stuff. Really fun book all the way around. I highly recommend this. And this is the type of stuff that goes out there. So why are they doing this? Again, it just seems like another attempt out there to just feminize a character, to change the whole dynamic of everything to where it's just nonsensical. And I've seen this with so many characters over the last several years. They keep replacing everybody, and this is all coming from Marguerite Bennett. So Marguerite Bennett is a just woke activist within science fiction, and she gets into everything in comics just based on her stuff here. They did a reboot of Witchblade in 2024 from Top Cow. Now, Witchblade's a beautiful comic which had a fun female lead before, and of course they turned it into like a modern YA feminist sort of thing where she doesn't look as hot and things like that because that's what they wanted to do, and it's dying on the vine like it always is. Now, Marguerite Bennett has worked in Marvel's 1602. That's Neil Gaiman's sort of line right there, and this is what she does. She just brings the feminist to all of her stuff. She did the same thing with She-Devil, which was terrible as well. And all the stuff she's done has just been mediocre to bad across every single company, but she keeps getting hired for every single thing that she does. And it's just because, like, hey, we want a woman. Let's have a woman write this. Witchblade, we need a woman. We need a woman to write this. It's exactly what they got. With Kelly Thompson's another one that just gets promoted and all these things. Absolute Wonder Woman she's on. She did Scarlet for G.I. Joe. So it's like, oh, female character. Let's bring a woman team to do this. And then they just wreck something totally good like Flash Gordon. Seems to be intentional because, again, I mean, I don't even understand like where the target audience for this is. Flash Gordon's so niche at this point. Your only audience that's interested in this is like old school science fiction fans who are kind of an older male gentleman sort of group. So it doesn't make any sense to like even do this. This is a product that's going to die on the vine that nobody wants and nobody's going to buy. And that is like, But that's how the woke mind virus goes. They don't care. It's more about pushing their agenda, pushing those swaps than anything else. Now, I wish they'd just like focus on this, not try to just dilute their brand, because the real Flash Gordon that's out there right now is something that people should be discovering, in my opinion. And this is a great way, I like to talk about comics that I like too. I kind of shoehorn that in there. And this is a great way that where like they could actually just like rebuild this franchise into something people care about again. But if they're diluting their brand like this, it's never going to happen. So they got to stop doing stuff like this. Obviously, it's the comic industry, so they're never going to unless they just like get these people out of there. Now, as you can see, the former editor Jim Scalaprop used to be in charge at Papercutz. This is the guy who was there before. There was no way he'd sign off on this, and as you can see, he's out May 2023. Mad Cave acquired this company, and I don't know who's in charge of Papercutz now. That's kind of where it's out. I just said Marguerite Bennett never once, and Chris Gore says lame, and I said and gay. And Demian says, with a feminized boy holding on to her, and a brown boy at that, I think it's a boy at least, hard pass. And I also did mention there's a good one being done now, and not enough people know about it, and that's something that should be out there, and, this is the contrast. So, guys, you can just not buy what sucks and buy what's good. Send these people a message as usual, and that's kind of where things are at with Flash Gordon. Very bizarre. What do you think about this? Leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. Hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure to join my newsletter, guys, and get some great comics. I'm going to be coming out with such awesome comics this year. I've got a new one I'm working on right now called Battle Emperor, where I've got a space emperor who's like building a Gundam to fight some space monsters. If you like Flash Gordon, I'm pretty sure you're going to love that. It's coming later this year. Don't miss it. Get on my newsletter. Get free books from me. Really appreciate you guys being here, and we'll be back soon.